I came up with a new show idea, Lubie. And it's going to be a show entitled Loan Shark Tank, where we have like 5 loan sharks on one side, and the people come in, these bust-out degenerate gamblers come in, and they try to negotiate better terms on some kind of a loan, and also secure the loan, even though their reputations may not match up with what would be considered spot-on credit. And then you got some guy coming in there going, hey, listen, I'm looking for $600 at 2 points a week. I'm telling you, I'm going to pay you back. I know my reputation is not necessarily exemplary. And, then the loan sharks start picking them apart. It's like, well, what are you talking about, Johnny? 2 points a week. That's laughable. It's 7 points a week just to talk to me. What do you think?
I think it would be classic.
And you get the music going. The guy comes out. He's clearly in need of the money. And they get that dun, 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 dun. And you got some guy that looks like Vito. He's Mr. Wonderful's chair, and Mr. Wonderful's chair, and he's just looking at the guy like, what a watermelon.
I was gonna say you have to have at least one of the people or behind them, enforcers, at least either behind them or off to the side
with that face, that the enforcer always has. Like, let me at him. How about a little taste of pain?
The beginning of every episode, it's a guy that fucking didn't pay last week, so they have to send a message.
Shit beat out of him, He's in some trash can peeling himself out. Man, here's last week's deadbeat. What do you think? Could I get some money to produce this thing? Is somebody going to steal the idea? I was afraid to unveil it here on the show because I thought it was brilliant.
I think it's funny.
Loan Shark Tank.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the program. Good to have you guys with us. Thanks so much for tuning in. Jeff DeForest, the man in the striped shirt, is one Mike Lubie Lubitz. And Lubie's still licking his wounds. He's been pretty good about this thing. I think, is it true? I mean, look, if Syracuse loses a game, do I give a shit anymore?
Yeah, it's been years and they haven't been good for a long time. That's the thing. Like
50 years. It's 50 years ago I was at this place. Maybe even further back than that. Yeah, like 52 years. So, I mean, am I living and dying with every Syracuse game? Now, regionally, because of the places that I've lived versus, I mean, you're still here in Florida, and you still are in touch with a lot of people who went to Florida State, not only when you did, but since. Now you have friends whose daughters are going, So, I mean, it's understandable there'd be more of an attachment there. Plus, you're a much younger man. But,
yes.
Yeah, I'm sensing, though, that maybe there's a little bit of distancing between you and your overwhelming emotional involvement with Florida State football. Because in the past, you were impossible to talk to on a Monday after a Florida State loss. Impossible.
I mean, it is what I'm not happy. It's a lingering annoyance. But
here it is Wednesday. You're okay.
I'm older. And
yeah.
I mean,
I'm older now. All right, so that's good. I did want to touch on this. I don't know why I started reading this article about the atrocious state of radio and as an industry overall. Okay, so but it caught my interest, naturally, because I have a great love for the radio industry. It was a big part of my life. I always enjoyed it. I mean, I remember being on the beach and listening to Pete Fornatell on WNEW. And you heard the guy's voice, and he was not even one of the major players there. He was kind of like on in the afternoon when you'd be at the beach, Lubie. And this guy was just, I mean, I would listen to this guy's voice and the way that he introduced like another Led Zeppelin song. And I thought, wow. I mean, I already was hooked on the idea that I wanted to do this. But, I mean, it was always, this is what we grew up with, Lubie. We grew up with radio. So it's even more of a fond thing to reflect on. But when you see the total demise and destruction of the industry, look, is everything eventually to become outdated? Look how quickly things become outdated now, right? I mean, you look at even, maybe 30 years ago in the television industry, you couldn't do something like this. You couldn't even conceive of it. Now it's perfectly acceptable. Regular, network stations are using similar type of formats to go ahead and conduct their shows, right? Mm-hmm. You watch a show on, NBC, and they got a newsmaker over here and some guy on this screen. and there's one host somewhere doing a show out of her bathroom.
Yep.
It's great, right? All right, so here's the deal. And they were talking about the demise and how the radio business will never be the same, Libby. Never be the same.
Thank you.
And then they have, as part of this article, this is somewhere in the middle of the article, the other big thing of this year has been the restructuring of station operations at nearly every large-scale ownership group. Among the moves we've seen, Libby, check these out. Complete gutting of local staffs by Alpha Media. iHeartMedia, Beasley, and Town Square, among others, cutting back on the amount of locally originated day parts on stations, with many down to just one per station. Imagine that. You got like network schlepper shit going on in all but one time slot, right? What do you put a morning show on? Is that the way you do it?
I guess. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I don't listen to any of it.
Beasley and iHeartMedia, two companies which I worked for, continuing to move to regional oversight of clusters as opposed to one market manager per cluster. Okay, so a lot of people are going to be out of jobs there, and they had very fat paychecks coming in for essentially going, I don't know what to do. No, there were some good managers there, right? We had a couple of good ones. Who was the really good guy that he was also a degenerate gambler? And he was very much favorable towards us.
Brian Olsen was good.
Brian Olsen, good call there, Libby. Yeah, couldn't remember his name, but and we didn't have all that much contact with him, but you kind of felt like he was on your side, didn't you?
Sort of got it, yeah.
Sort of, yeah. Not that it would cause him any moment of hesitation if it became advantageous for him to tell you to go fuck yourself. Yeah,
they don't stand behind it. I mean, the minute any of their stuff is questioned, they're like, okay, like there's never pushback.
Hey, Defo, Lubie, you're out of here.
So then don't call yourself a whatever manager if you have no pull at all. Like if don't call they would like,
well, they would tell you that, hey, I will go down on my shield for you.
The GM. And it's like, dude, a GM wouldn't just get pushed around. Like, get out of here.
All right. So basically, they're cutting out almost all local management and becoming regionally managed. Which I mean, how do you regionally manage a radio business where? I mean, do the people in Tampa give a shit? I guess from a music standpoint, it might be somewhat the same. But from talk and news approaches, I guess, would be the same. But, I mean, they have radically different tastes and points of emphasis, don't they? I mean, there's nothing here in South Florida that would be of any interest in Tampa. How do you regionally manage that? You don't. You can't.
It's stupid.
All right. More nationalized music logs and some moving to artificially intelligence-generated music logs currently in use in more stations than across multiple operations. In other words, the fucking people are out.
Yeah, it's not an industry anymore. It's just online. I mean, that's what it is. It's the same.
It was a creative industry, though. It was probably the most creative medium, I thought.
Well, it's been a long time.
Could be, yeah. I mean, technology got to the point with TV where, I mean, there were a lot of things that you could have never imagined going on in terms of graphics and effects and all of the different things that people use to make a show look like it has some production value, if you will, as opposed to the old Steve Spurrier show, which I often reference, which, it's this football coach with, who is the guy, now I'm blanking on the longtime Gator announcer that we used to have on the show. Mick Hubert. I wasn't even in the ballpark there for a second until you were coming out. You ever notice that too, that when you have to Google something that you should remember, as soon as you start to Google it, you remember it?
Yeah, it's annoying.
Like what was the name of that umpire and referee? And the minute you start to Google it, boom, there it is. It's like, how come I couldn't remember that until I was forced to? Essentially. Yeah, but Hubert used to sit there with Spurrier, and they had like 3 really dull lockers in the background. I mean, really, it looked like some kind of junior high school production. But advances have come. So even a show like that used to look like some, schlepper bag ladies on TV. All of a sudden had a lot of flash and dash to it, right? Replays and this and that, and all kinds of stars and flashes. So, the industry definitely, changed. TV probably, I don't know, maybe became more creative, more capable of lending itself to creativity than radio did. And then as that was happening, they essentially just mediated all of the creativity out of the industry, right? Nobody wanted you to do anything that was out of the normal because somebody might turn off the radio that had one of those stupid wristbands or whatever that was.
Yeah.
Which is what they were gauging all of their success. Or I mean, the key to any success in that business was, are your clients getting results? Wouldn't that be it? Which I don't know that we could vouch for that. Well, I mean, we had some success with that.
You don't know. I mean, the way
And
that
people would tell you. I mean, you would know right away. I mean, a guy that needs like to get phone calls. He says, "I haven't had a call in 3 months." Well, then I don't know. Maybe you're not doing so good, right? Unless he's on a bunch of other stations and getting the same negative result. But in general, that would be more of a measuring stick. Plus, I don't know. Didn't you always feel this way, Lubie? And when we were getting like zeros, that I mean, how was it that so many people were telling you about something that you did on the show just yesterday?
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, that would be more of a. I don't know that there was ever a good measuring stick for radio ratings ever. The books really were a farce, and then the people meter. Remember the panic that created in the business? All created by an outside industry that essentially was strong arming. I mean, this was like Stallone in that Tulsa show, right? Where he just comes into the marijuana plant there or whatever distributing place and says, "Okay, I own half your business." Is that show really good? I mean, it's critically acclaimed? This Stallone in Tulsa King, I think it's called.
Oh, I've never watched it. I have no idea.
I think I saw the first one that was on CBS. Was that new to CBS this year? And it was on some streaming service?
Paramount, and then they'll do stuff on CBS to get attention. I don't know. Anything that he's in, I change the channel. I mean, he just looks old. He just looks...
He looks like a shot fighter. He does, yeah.
To be acting fine, like whatever, but he does like main roles, and he just... I don't know.
It's the same role. It just
was always slow. He was never a good actor. It was just Rocky was a fun movie, and Rambo was a fun
He was perfect for it.
He's never been an actor. So like an old him, no. It's not like he's De Niro or something like, or Sir Anthony Hopkins. Like it's fucking Stallone. Like
that was it.
Now, I just feel sad for him.
Sort of morphed into being the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, that's what he does. And it's
in this show, at least when I saw of it, I usually dodge it, but on this show, he just waltzes into town in the first episode. He walks into some marijuana dispensary and says, "I own half your business," and the guy goes, "Okay, sure."
In his 70s.
That was it. It's like, who the fuck are you?
Get out of here.
I don't know if you can make a whole show out of that. I mean, the premise was you had to really just accept what would seem to be a very lame premise. All right, we have to get into some things. Never mind the destruction of the radio business, Lubie, but I thought you would be the total gutting of the local stations. I thought would be something that you could relate to. As I mean, what do they do anymore? They're like no shows in town. And I bring this up for a reason too, though, Lubie. There's a secondary purpose to this. You're thinking, where is this fucking guy going?
Pretty much, yes.
But I mean, you used to have to agonize over roster cuts by the Miami Dolphins if you were doing sports talk in this town, and people would be calling in and going, "Can you believe this? They put so and so on waivers." And usually the camp darling would be the first guy cut. The guy that everybody was pointing to and saying, "Oh, well, this guy's got to make the team," and he'd make a couple of plays in one of the preseason games, and then it turned out none of that had any impact on the coaching staff's decision to stick with the same stiffs that they had before, right? Didn't that always amaze you, Lubie? You'd say, "How did this guy make the team?" And the other guy, the rookie, got cut when you were watching the preseason games, and the guy just shined, and then he would get cut. I don't know that there was anything startling. I couldn't tell you if there was or there wasn't. Is that because I'm out of touch with this kind of stuff, Lubie?
I don't know. I don't pay attention to any of it. My dad called me like Monday asking about it, and I was like, I think it's Tuesday. It's always on a Tuesday. I'm like, but I don't care.
Yeah, it was yesterday was the big thing. They had to get down to 53 men.
I mean, the Dolphins, the end of they're not deep. So the end of anyone who watched any of the preseason, if anyone gets hurt anywhere, they are fucked. Like. And that's what I was. And I like.
Is that true of most teams?
Well, no, they have depth. No? Good GMs build depth. That's what GMs do.
Yeah.
Chris Greer's a fucking shitty GM. So
top heavy with some high salaried players.
He's been given a blank check to go sign players, so he did, and he's hit on some first rounders. But the great teams draft well from 3 to 7, and he drafts horrendous from rounds 3 through 7. So
all of their draft picks, by the way, made the team.
He has this year. Well, they didn't have them.
7 picks.
5.
I think they had 7 picks.
his middle round drafting is a fucking abomination. So he has no depth. That's where you get your value. That's where they have less contracts and you can get nice rookie contract years out of guys. But he sucks at drafting rounds 3 through 7. So they don't have depth. So I didn't care about
depth.
this.
That's the Yogi Berra thing.
After the top 22, like it's all garbage. So to me, like who cares who's number 48 or 50? Like,
all right. So none of these people had any meaning to you?
Not really.
Eric Izukanwama or something like that.
Izukanwama looked nice 2-3 years ago.
Chris Brooks.
He couldn't get out of his way. I like Brooks a lot, but they never give him a real chance.
Curtis Bolton.
I don't know that name.
Neville Gallimore, defensive tackle. Jonathan Harris, another DT. Nick Needham, cornerback. Did that raise an eyebrow or two?
He was really good. I don't know what happened. He fell off, I guess, the last 2 years.
Blake Ferguson, long snapper, who may somehow find his way back onto the roster. Odell Beckham on the what we were kind of talking about this before the show. Physically unable to perform versus injured reserve. Which list would be the one that you would least like to be on? I mean, there are restrictions, I guess, about number of games that you have to miss.
One of them means
on the 2 designations.
Months, and one of them means some time. I'm trying to figure out what
I think
IR.
I think PUP is like a 4-game proposition.
Yeah, I think IR means you're out, and I think the PUP list means what you're just saying. I think you missed the first 4 games.
But if you just looked at it on, the strict, definition of the thing, you would think that physically unable to perform would be the most horrendous of conditions that you could possibly be in, right? Who wants to be in that spot, guys? There's a natural correlation there with sexual innuendo, but nonetheless, injured reserve doesn't sound as bad, does it? As physically unable to perform, Lubie. What do you think? The PUP sounds far more harsh, and yet I think the restrictions are not as bad, because I want to say that that's a 4-game proposition, and injured reserve. Do you have to sit out a certain number of games, or are you able to come off that list at any time? That's a good question, Lubie. That parameter changed quite a bit. The guidelines for injured reserve in the NFL, did it not at one time require like a ridiculous number of missed games, like 10 or something like that? And then the last thing you wanted to be was on that list, and now I think you can come back whenever you're ready. Are you frozen in space there, Lubie?
I'm reading. I'm trying to read the difference between the injured reserve. Like, it doesn't give a real great explanation of what the fuck the difference is between the PUP list. And the
I'm just thinking it's length of time that you're required to be out. Like if you know the guy's going to be out, 4 weeks, then okay, then put him on that. But if you can bring a guy off injured reserve, which I believe that's a rule that changed, where you can bring a guy off the injured reserve list at any time. That may be wrong, Lubie, but we're not here to dispense accurate information. You're doing your best to figure it out, and you can't figure it out. And we've been doing this for 40 years. You think we would know? They're
saying the big difference is when you, like for PUP list, you have to tell a player before camp, and then the PUP list into reserve. There's a little more leeway, but they both mean you're going to miss time, and you can come off. Injured reserve, I guess, means you have to miss at least 4 games.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that exactly, but a lot of time it does mean that. But that's really the big difference. There's not a huge difference. They're very similar things.
If a president can get immunity from criminal prosecution, couldn't somebody find a way to get off injured reserve like a game or 2 early? I don't know. Seems like that would be the lesser of the legal hurdles to overcome. All right, so I don't know that I can make anything of this, Lubie. Should we be embarrassed? I mean, Jim Sarney's not going to approve of this. Just a vague reference to the fact that the 53-man roster is set for the Miami Dolphins. Maybe Tony will have some opinions on this. I'm not sure that there were any. Were there any surprises? Mike White got cut. He looked awful in preseason.
I mean, he and Thompson were horrendous. I don't know what the hell they're going to do with a backup quarterback. I mean, I know Perk said that's the least of their worries, which I find hard to believe when you have a quarterback who
a guy could go down at any time in the Lubie. We know this.
Every season but one. Like, I would think a backup quarterback is sort of important. And not every team has shitty backup quarterbacks. Some actually have, like the Texans have 2 backup quarterbacks that have started NFL games.
Look at the Steelers.
None. Yeah, the Steelers, exactly.
Went from having no quarterback to a failed quarterback in that Kenny Pickett. What happened to Kenny Pickett? He's gone, right?
I think he's there. Oh, they got rid of him.
Oh, is he still there, Kenny Pickett?
I thought he was still there. He's on a rookie deal. I don't think. I mean,
okay. Because it was interesting about Mike White. What was just was it a year ago or 2 years ago that he came on in relief as the New York Jets quarterback. And the Jets, he won a game, and all of a sudden, I mean, we know that there's an overreaction by the New York press to a lot of things that happen in the city.
Eagles. So I guess they did. I mean, they brought in both those guys. They got rid of him. He's now on the Eagles. They got rid of
yeah.
Pickett.
Kenny Pickett. I thought he was gone from there because look, it opened the door for them to get Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, which. How miraculous is that? Where Wilson, it wasn't what he was, with the Seahawks, but with the Denver Broncos by any stretch. Was it because, I mean, he just had such a bad relationship with Sean Payton, or is it because he was in serious decline as a quarterback from a physical standpoint?
It feels like he's in decline. It feels like, because he was dreadful the preseason too. Like, it feels like the end came fast for him. Because, again, his last season in Seattle, he was actually still good. He left under the guys. People thought that he was still great, and they were just moving on too early to the point where it feels like this is what he is. I mean,
when he signed with the Broncos, that team all of a sudden was like, it was like Colorado last year when Deion won his first 4 games.
Yep.
Before he was exposed as a guy that had no clue what he was doing, I guess. I don't know. You see this riff? Do you make anything of that? It's a journalistic question where they banned the guy from asking questions.
Yeah, I think it's a joke.
I mean, does it matter? I mean, do they really answer these questions anyway? Does it matter if this guy raises his hand and they go, well, okay, you fuckhead over there? It's not a good look when you're trying to silence the press, isn't Lubie? So some of the things that this guy was implying, I mean, look, we take, sort of, we take what would be unflattering shots at people from time to time, but we're just having fun. So, it's not like, we mean anybody to be have such derogatory thoughts espoused about him. But let's face it, Smoking Joe Philbin had no personality. What are you going to say, right? I mean, what if the Dolphins had said, hey, we don't like the fact that you refer to our coach as Smoking Joe Philbin? No question. We don't have any questions to ask anyway, so it wouldn't bother us.
I mean, I don't know why you would stop. There's coaches don't say anything anyway, so just coach speak, dance around it, and move on. The thing of you're not allowed to talk or you're not allowed in this press conference.
That's not a good look. Yeah,
I think it's weird, and it's like, dude, what are you saying about your coach? Like, he's such a fucking moron that you don't trust him to be able to dance around a goddamn question. Like Mike Norvell, we've talked to him 3 times. We've left every conversation both smiling, liking the guy, and trying to remember anything he said.
Says nothing of significance. No.
You're telling me Deion, the king of bullshit, can't go out there. He got people to sell out a stadium with 12th level talent. Like, he was selling out a stadium when you knew they weren't going to win more than 4 games. If anyone can bullshit, it's friggin' Deion Sanders. Like,
no question.
Sanders can't handle some douche-ass college reporter. Come on, get out of here. Like, he's a freaking child, and it literally underscores
looks bad.
Most Seminoles can't stand him. Most people around the college football world that aren't Colorado fans or looking for the hot thing can't stand him. And it's why I have no doubt that he'll be a flaming disaster there. And all this talk about NFL and big jobs, I think is a total joke. I think just like he did to the HBCUs, he'll take his money and he'll fucking run because he's horrendous. He's not trying to be a good coach. He's not trying to build a program.
You should get a column in the Denver Post.
He's trying to no, they love him over there. He's trying to.
Wasn't this guy from the Denver Post though?
Yeah, well, I'm sure.
Like the big paper there was being shut down. And not being allowed to attend press conferences or ask questions, that's kind of crazy. That would have been better off just being ignored, no, by Deion. You're right. It's a bad reaction.
Nothing or don't call on him. It's very easy to. Usually, there's tons of people raising their hands, especially at a Deion press conference. I'm sure they all want to talk. So just ignore him.
Yeah.
It's just weird when they go, all you're doing, and now again, it's very Dion. Maybe maybe he realizes the team's going to suck ass. So he's trying to divert the attention to this stupid ass story instead of focusing on how horrendous his team's going to be. I don't know, but all you're doing is making more of a story out of something that's nothing. Like, let the guy come in, let him ask his dumbass question.
Answer. No, I mean, what's it going to hurt? Sure.
Answer. Well, we have a team and we're proud of the team, and it's going to be a tough year with this team, and you got to play some football. And football's not an easy sport, but we'll see what we got to do, and we'll come together, and we'll be one, and we're going to learn from last year's mistakes, and we're going to grow, and we're going to be better this year, and we can't wait for some football. There you go, Dion. That's your whole fucking.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Are you
kidding?
Does
that answer your question? Okay,
like
next.
Tony Segreto made it through press conferences. I don't know what the hell.
Joe Philbin made it through press conferences.
Joe Philbin made it through 4 years of press conferences.
Joe, that call in the 2nd and 2 with a minute and change to go in a ball game that resulted in a 4-yard loss. Do you regret that? He would answer it, though. I mean, that was the thing. And the funny thing is, when a guy sort of gives you what would be leaning much more towards an honest answer than just giving you this roundabout bullshit that you just rattled off there, where essentially the guy just was cliche laced and said nothing. Then they criticize him for answering the question. Right? It's like, whoa, what a weak position that is, Joe. You're like, well, all he said was, congratulations to the other team or whatever. And then next thing you know, they're crucifying a guy for having no spine. It was. So it doesn't even pay. I mean,
no, you can't win. They're going to criticize him no matter what. But you still at least let the people ask the stupid. Look, that's the thing is we both admit we've been to them.
Yeah,
you don't really like asking questions. I make sure if I go to a presser, I pretty much.
I hated asking questions
because if I'm going to sit in that stupid ass thing that's boring out of my mind, I want to at least participate. It keeps me engaged. So I always come up with some question.
Oh, you were aggressive.
I always ask something just cause if I'm going to be there, I might as well be involved. But like
stations wanted you to do it if you were on, with electronic media.
Yeah,
they wanted you to have your voice on a question and make it seem like and make sure you got the mic flag in there.
Mic, you have the flag. Yeah.
How much good did that really do? I'm not sure. We'll have to ask Tony Segreto. He would be more advanced in knowledge of this kind of marketing than we would. All right, and Jim Sarney, I didn't want to miss out on this. He did mention the U.S. Open. He was asking about Naomi Osaka's outfit.
It looked fucking weird. Like, what is this outfit?
Like I kind of thought it was cool. I did.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not judging.
Because with her wild hair sticking out from the, I guess she had one of those.
Is that it's green? Like what makes
visors? Yeah, like a Spurrier visor.
Yeah, she's wearing the visor. The hair is coming out.
Yeah, but you know what? Even more spectacular what was the fact that she beat Ostapenko, who's not a bad player. I don't know. She was emerging as one of the top players. I mean, it was very highly ranked a few years ago. Then it looked like, I don't know, unless I'm wrong about this, it looked like she put on like 50 pounds, to which now she sort of scaled it back. Is far more trim than she was, I want to say, a couple of years ago. But got back into shape and is a monster hitter. I mean, up there with any of the big hitters in the game. And Osaka just dissected this woman yesterday. So that was kind of interesting. And, all you can do, it's funny, Lubie, because people get down and look, there was a whole nother side story that I was, relaying because, and this had nothing necessarily to do with Naomi herself, but the parents stiffed this coach at the Pompano Municipal Tennis Center, which, by the way, Lubie, how about this? They were named the number one, I think, either... I'm not sure if there were separate categories on this or whatever, by size or whatever, but number one public tennis facility in the country by the U.S. Tennis Association.
Really?
And we're presenting an award at the U.S. Open the other day.
That's cool.
Eddie Sposa, man, and his crew. Nice job, huh?
Nice.
I told you that it's one of the best run parks, city of Pompano Beach. I have to give them credit for that.
Nice.
One of the best run parks, and that tennis center is right up there. I mean, with any country club that you could go to, except for the fact that you don't necessarily have somebody to give you a massage in the locker room after, and and a chance to sit down and have a glass of champagne. All right, good. We got Tony with us here. Let's get into it. But U.S. Open. We were talking about this on our betting show yesterday. That there are always interesting matchups in the first round that you might be able to count on. You have to be able to.
For sure.
But there are always big upsets because Tony, I mean, the equality level, the parity level in tennis, both men's and women's, I don't think it's ever been this strong. Where you can go to like a guy who's ranked 150 in the world. He's a great player.
He's a great player. You're right. You're right. Good morning. Good morning.
How are you, Tony?
Good morning,
man. You look good, kid.
Huh?
You look good.
I feel good.
Your hearing may not be so good.
Hey, listen.
Yeah.
You know, the radio industry, as you said, is failing quick.
Wow. I mean, that was a monster indictment there.
The podcast industry is booming.
Yeah.
If you get in the right spot, yeah.
The Kelsey brothers just signed $100 million contract.
Wow.
Joe Rogan, $250 million.
Wow.
The other guys, just in sports.
Oh, there's money there.
There's money there. My God.
There has to be room at the top. This is what we have to figure out, Tony. If there's room at the top.
The three of us should do a podcast.
We're doing one.
You know, it's weird. I'm sure you get invited onto various podcasts from different people, and you know, I try to never say no, even though I may be dreading it like later on because you're thinking, people have different concepts. You're asking a guy, how long is this show going to be? You're figuring, okay, I'll be on for like 20 minutes. That'll be great. And you know, then the guy's got you on for like hour number 3.
They still don't understand what 20 minutes is.
Yeah.
Oh my God! You know, and you know, you're just thinking, does this show ever end? You know, I'm not to be great and ungrateful for being invited on, but let's face it, this is getting really old.
It doesn't matter what show you're on, as long as you're on. You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, and like I say, I feel an obligation because, and Lubie has had much more to do with this than I have, although, you know, it's a shared responsibility. But, you know, for all the different people we've imposed on to be guests, and they're willing to say yes and come on your show, even though they have no agenda that they're pushing or anything like this, you know, so I feel obligated to reciprocate, right?
I haven't been asked to be on your show yet.
You are on the show.
You're on the show.
This is the show.
This is the show.
Your podcast show.
The other stuff.
Oh, the other thing, it's a degenerate gambling show, and it's in an experimental stage. Yesterday's show got completely fucked up, and I have my fingers crossed that today's comes off. And then I have a fiasco going with the great poker player Johnny Chan, where we misunderstood each other about the time. He's on the West Coast. We're here. We agree on a time that we're going to do this thing. I guess this is tomorrow. And then it turns out he was talking about Pacific time. It's like, well, where are we? Fucking Delmar, man. I mean,
Lubie, I feel for you. I feel for you. I feel for my daughter. I mean, it was.
For this world, yeah, it's a different world. It's fine. I mean, look, the positive is you can make your own way. Where
there's more opportunity.
Someone had to tell you you're good enough to just get in the door. Now, literally, you can do your own stuff, and hopefully, someone picks up on it. It's figuring out the niche to get in and how to get the word out, but at least no one's look, as someone who we lost our platform, it's at least you're in control of your own stuff. Like there's something to be said for that. Like to be maybe in TV was different, but to be in that world where you have people that every idea they come up with fails. Every idea, like literally they try a ton of stuff. It always fails, but then they'll still look you in the face with all the confidence in the world in themselves, questioning you. And you're like, dude, I'm new in this industry. You've been in this industry 30 years, and I see a track record of fucking 150 failures. How do you have the balls to tell me what the fuck to do? I got a master's. What the hell did you do? Like
program director.
So that's my thing.
You can picture Lubie, you know, thinking this as the guy's telling him that he should never flip open a microphone again.
It's like whatever.
Some real atrocities there, Tony. We survived that, but no, it's a brave new world out there, and you know what? It's kind of up to the individual now, more so than ever, to find your way. I mean, the Kelseys naturally had built-in attraction there because who's getting more publicity than Travis Kelce? Just for being on the arm of Taylor Swift or vice versa, whichever way you want to look at it, they're arm in arm. Couldn't be any more popular, right?
No.
The Rogan thing, I don't really understand because when I see Joe Rogan, I think of him as the guy on Fear Factor. And you thought, how did this guy get a hosting job on TV?
I don't understand that at all.
My son loves him, man. Loves the podcast. Thinks it's great.
But do they love him or do they love his access? Because again,
the people just get on there and talk like very liberally for like 2 hours. Yeah.
And it's a lot of why Howard Stern's great. And again, there's something to be said for doing your research and being prepared and allowing people who are lofty in esteem to be comfortable enough to talk about anything.
Yeah.
Like there's
Howard Stern has changed has totally morphed into completely. He is a.
Oh no, he's as good an interviewer as there is.
No,
and he started as the rock, the shock jock. So I'm not even. It's not about. It's just there's something to be said for having that. Look again. When you have 8 minutes with someone on a phone, or when you have 2 hours with someone in your studio, that lends itself.
Oh yeah,
here with you. So
you smoked a joint before the interview.
No, there's only going to be so that Howard Stern to me is that, but he's earned it. He's been around for years, he created it, and he really works hard at his craft. Joe Rogan to me, it's a lot of just access. Like people are willing to sit there and spend 2 hours with him. Like the stuff he does on it isn't. I mean, I've tried to listen to his stuff, and I'm like, he's not bad, but he's not like fucking Barbara Walters. Like he's not some like great Roy Firestone. Like he's not some amazing interviewer. He's been around. So people will do his show.
It doesn't take much to be a great interviewer. It doesn't take much. You have to have access to the person.
That's it. That's really what it is.
Best question ever asked, though, in any interview, any sports interview, Roy Firestone. When he, the best answer was solicited by Roy Firestone. He asked Pete Rose, if you were a woman, what kind of woman would you be? On that up-close show that he had. And Rose looks at him and, I don't know how he suppressed his laughter and says, an ugly one. On that note, we're going to come back with more Tony Segreto. Ed Garcia from Texas Roadhouse Restaurants going to join us here in just a sec as we bring you some messages from our fine supporters here on the program. And we'll be back with Tony Segreto and Old School, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants in a moment. Now that.
The time.
College football, Tony. It's
college football.
8:39.
Here, let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Texas Roadhouse.
Tell me, doctor, where are we going? Good morning once again, everybody. We have Tony Segreto with us, going old school with Tony Segreto. Well, Mike Lubie Lubitz. I'm Jeff DeForest. And glad you guys tuned in today. Ed Garcia going to join us here shortly from Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. We'll get into some college football. But do you remember the obsession that people had back in the day, Tony, with, and I don't know if it's just because I'm not nearly as in touch with this as I used to be, or do I feel any great responsibility to have this particular knowledge? Although there is some if you're going to do a sports show. But Dolphin Cutdown Day. Remember what a big deal that was?
God, it was.
You had to like hang out there and like chase guys down as they were going in their car and it just got cut.
It was huge. It was beyond huge. It was the biggest thing I can think of at the time.
Yeah.
At the time. And it wasn't just that Dolphins. It was league wide.
All over the place, sure.
Going through every team's cuts and who you could get, and
it was a big deal. I mean, did you dispatch Ned Smith to do the dirty work, Tony? Because this is really undignified for a guy like you. I mean, to have to chase some poor guy who just had his dreams shattered to his to his Volkswagen Beetle that's all beat up from the 60s and say, hey, what are you going to do now that you're out of a job?
It was Ned's job.
Oh, good, yeah.
Chase that Beetle all the way out St. Thomas.
It's got the spare tire on it, the little donut tire. I mean, one of the tires. And this poor Schmauer is going to have to, figure out what to do next, I guess. But it is interesting because there have been a lot of guys. I mean, it makes for some of the great stories.
I remember when I was a senior in high school. There was I think it was a senior year. There was a diary of a rookie in the Miami News.
Oh, wow.
And it was for
that had to be Tommy Archdeacon writing that one.
It was for Wes Matthews.
Okay.
And Wes Matthews wrote every single day what it was like to be a rookie. And Wes Matthews was put on IR or something like that. And it was the biggest news story of the day. It was huge. It was huge. The diary of a rookie. The guy's, hammered or something like that. And and since then, it just wasn't the same. It just wasn't what we used to be. And
maybe I don't know. I mean,
it's the way things are. It's okay that things change. It's okay that's the way it is.
Used to be. Maybe it is a bigger deal though. I see some social media where Dolphin people that follow the Dolphins and or are reporting on them are obsessing over some of the roster moves. Although I couldn't tell you, and Lubie was saying that it relates to the fact that Chris Greer is a bozo and doesn't know how to accumulate depth.
Hey, Lubie, I'm with you.
Are you? Wow, Tony, you rarely have a negative thing to say about anybody in general, much less in the Dolphin organization.
He's wash and wear.
Yes.
Put him away.
Yeah,
get someone else. Put him away. Get someone else. He's not Joe Thomas. He's not Bobby Beathard.
Doesn't seem like a very authoritative GM. Like you don't feel like he's really pulling all of the strings.
He's not.
So who is Tony?
I think he makes moves. I think he's definitely making moves. I just think he's an average GM. He's not the worst. He's assembled a lot of talent, and like our friend Luke at Luke's last week point to the 5 draft picks he hit. What people leave out is I did the math. He's been 100% responsible for at least 8 drafts, and there was always this gray area where he was, quote unquote, the GM under Tannenbaum, but we didn't know what he was doing. But supposedly he was doing stuff, but we didn't know. I feel like he's been involved at least 10 to 12 drafts. If you can only name 6 players out of 10 to 12 drafts, I mean, there was like 3 years they had 2 first-round picks. Like, how good of a GM are you if there's only 6 players on a roster over 10 drafts that have hit? Like, come on. I mean, get the hell out of here.
If you had to put a dream front office together, you would take the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, right?
He gets in the way a lot.
And just make him the GM because he can pick. He can pick as good as anybody. Think about who he's gotten.
I mean, they have talent, but
yeah. So what's the problem there, Tony?
He gets in the way a lot. He doesn't pick coaches.
I think he's his own worst enemy. Yeah, exactly.
He
wants to coach the team too, as part of the problem, I guess.
He wants to coach the team. Exactly.
Imagine how those conversations went with the Tuna and him when they were together. Here's Bill Parcells wants to listen to nobody.
Jerry Jones.
And Jerry's like, I mean, look, he had that Sheik. Remember the guy came on and he had the thing on his head and he was down on the sidelines, like suggesting plays to Jimmy Johnson, some Saudi Arabian prince that Jerry was entertaining in the skybox. Says, perhaps I can call some plays. Yeah, sure, Sheik. That oil deal's still good, right? You're like, okay, great. Unbelievable. Yeah. So I don't know that Jerry, he just did his deal with CD Lamb. I mean, he gets so much attention. I guess we hear more about what's going on. I don't know whether it's dirty laundry, but you get more about what's happening in negotiations and things like that from the Cowboys than any other team. Maybe that's because Jones likes it that way, and he feels like he wins by negotiating.
They're
someone in the
America's
press.
team. They're America's team.
You still think so? I don't know.
For a while, they
I think
don't.
that's
win.
faded, man.
Yeah, they haven't been for a while. I don't know who's. I mean, the Chiefs probably America's team at this
Chiefs are it now. Mahomes.
point.
Taylor
Chiefs.
Swift is up there in the box with a Chiefs jersey on. Come on, Tony.
100 million. I can't wrap my arms around $100 million for a podcast.
Well, for their
It's great. Well, look, Pat McAfee. I mean, was doing that. He's not the first. I'm looking at David Portnoy, Barstool Sports. Got like $150 million for his business, and then he got the business back for like $1. How great is that? I mean, that may be the slickest business deal since those guys that own the St. Louis ABA franchise got a piece of all of the television rights.
Oh God!
From the NBA when it went from being worthless to all of a sudden being worth like billions of dollars.
Hey, are you looking forward to the Clemson Georgia game this Saturday?
You know what?
That is the best game.
Not as much as I am the Gators and UM. To be honest with you,
I thought you were going to go there just a few minutes ago when you said you remember.
He's waiting for Ed, I think, and Ed's not popping on yet. So I guess.
Okay.
What was that?
I think he's waiting for Ed, but Ed isn't popping on, so we might as well just talk.
Yeah, I was just sending Lubie a message there. Ed ?
Back in the day, it was the biggest game of the year.
Oh, sure.
Miami played Florida. Walkichevsky, the Gator hater, the Gator eater. We do specials on it. It was amazing. Now, it's just another game.
I think the schools did more to promote some of this also, though. Maybe it was just the way the times were running. But, I mean, look, people were talking about, especially when they had like a season opener against each other, which wasn't it the 83 season when they got trounced by the Gators on opening day under Schnellenberger and then went on to win the championship?
83.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, they have had season openers, but the anticipation. See, I just feel like this, Tony, that maybe I'm out of touch here in my little townhouse in Lauderdale by the sea, and I'm walking the beach there and trying to pass a couple of old men that are in walkers, and make my way up to the Briny pub. Think about just suspending the operation and going in for a beer. But maybe I'm not as attached to the program or as close to it. But I sense nothing, I mean, in terms of any overwhelming excitement that's going on. I mean, Lubie, even the Florida State opener, I mean, with all the people we know that are affiliated with Florida State, including yourself, through your daughter going there. I don't know. Was there any overwhelming, wave of enthusiasm about this game? Here we are Wednesday. I haven't heard much about it. I couldn't tell you much about the Gator team, except that they're supposed to be not very good.
Yeah. First of all, the Florida State game was in Dublin. So that takes it out of the, it takes it out of the.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
By the way, are you okay after that, Tony? I know you're a big Florida State person, in spite of your ties to UM and Notre Dame and every other college that you're on the board of directors of. Are you on the board at Mississippi State?
Mississippi State. Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
And Michigan, and you name it. I'm the ambassador for all those schools.
Beto Cook hadn't been seen in favor at so many schools as you have. It's unreal. All right, we do have our great friend Ed Garcia, who, when we get to college football, you definitely want to get to Ed, and of course, he is the man with Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. And
hey, Ed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great. How are you guys?
How are you doing?
Doing well.
I am ready to rock and roll. We got game day coming up on Saturday. Very exciting. I know we had a little bit of an inkling this past week, and I'm sure there's some bitter souls on here and shocked souls. But, hey, it's time to rock and roll.
They're still throwing a net in the Irish Sea to try and see if there are any surviving Florida State fans left floating around there on the top of the ocean. All right, this is good. And so what do you think? I mean, you have a new coach. I don't know that Tony wasn't overwhelmingly optimistic in your national championship season. He kept bugging you. I don't know if he was just putting you on about, well, when are you going to play somebody? When are you going to play somebody?
They came out ranked number 8, and I feel that they're definitely going to make the playoffs. Game 2, which I'll be there versus University of Texas, is going to
nice one.
we're going to really just kind of see the depth. I mean, with 18 new starters, that's going to be a bit of a challenge. It looks like Orgy won the quarterback challenge. I have a feeling that we're going to see a little bit of Michigan. I mean, Michigan's known to run the ball, but we're going to have a very mobile quarterback. If you've seen Orgy, I mean, that guy, I mean, he looks like LeBron James in his prime. I mean, he's got negative body fat, is just solid muscle. And I think he's going to throw a few of the defenses for a loop. And again, I'm not a quarterback, so I can't throw the ball forwards or backwards, but I guess that's his opportunity, is that depth chart a little bit. So we'll see how it works out, but I think that play will come in handy. You'll see. There'll be the run. They'll get in that run defense, and then I'm sure Orgy will throw a slant pass or something and get it down to Donovan Edwards and score the touchdown. I did find it pretty interesting this week. I forgot what team shared the Ohio State nil money, the $20 million. I think that's going to be a big contender. The Bulldogs will be another contender. Texas will be a contender unless they lose to Michigan week 2. That one will be a ton of fun. And I think Oregon, the Ducks too.
No, Oregon's going to be really good.
I think that, one loss still gets you in.
Oh, 100. I mean, with the 12-team playoff, absolutely. And that's I think why they came up with this, is that the one and hey, you might even see a 2-team loss depending on strength of schedule.
12,
I mean, Michigan gets mocked a lot in the past for strength of schedule, but you take a look at their schedule this year. I've never seen so many big names. I mean, I could, have a nice little retirement package for just selling my season tickets right now. They're
Is that why Harbaugh left?
I'm sure. I don't know if you saw they got served papers 2 days ago.
He's still being penalized by the NCAA.
And the Netflix. I'm pretty excited about this Netflix deal. So I was walking through the airport. I was in Kentucky this past weekend, and I have this really awesome sweatshirt. I need to wear this the next time, but it says men with the Michigan M versus boys, and the O is the OSU, and it has a picture of Ryan Day back in the back crying. And that's my boy, Dave Portnoy. And this guy walks by and he looks at me, shakes his head, and he calls me a sign stealer. Most amusing thing at 6 a.m. at the airport. I mean, I'm telling you, I laughed about it for 15 minutes. But at the end of the day, you know what? I mean, I don't have it on me, but it shows up at Texas Roadhouse every so often. But I have the national champion trophy. Like, let's go.
Yeah. Did you see the special?
No, it comes. It comes out tomorrow.
There's something on Netflix now. I saw something.
It is
now. But
okay,
what, Sign Stealer or something like that? It's called Sign Stealer, something like that. Yeah.
After you see it, you go, "What's the big deal? What was the big?"
We watched it, and it wasn't even a big deal at all.
Oh, well, I'm definitely gonna watch. I thought it didn't come out till this Friday, so I
saw something pop up on my Netflix that said Sign Stealer, and it's Harbaugh, and there's a dude behind him, and it's there now. So
right. Well, we talked about it before. I mean, that's just, I don't know. Everyone's looking for that competitive edge. I'm not saying I condone illegal practices, but to watch someone practice and figure it out, I mean, that's the game. I mean, what are you doing on the sidelines anyway when you're playing that team? Hey, when you hear that call, like they're probably going to do a run, they're going to throw a pass. I mean,
who cares?
It's a competition.
Yeah, it is. It's a competition, and Michigan won.
Right. They won. Even after all that came out, all the suspensions and everything else. I mean, they took Harbaugh out for 6 games. I mean, come on. They tried to cripple them as much as possible. And, hey, at the end of the day, they still walked out with the natty.
So you're optimistic about this season?
I feel great about the season. I think –
You think the board's going to have any butterflies?
Absolutely. I mean,
Alabama, that could be interesting.
18 new starters, for Michigan. And overall, I mean, Alabama's going to be very interesting, like you just brought up. But it's going to be fun. But that's why I love college football, because there's just there's different challenges. You're dealing with young men. I mean, again, not to bring up the sore subject, but, look at Florida State last week. There's just so much unpredictability sometimes, and that kind of – it breaks a lot of hearts, but it also creates a lot of excitement and a lot of great conversations.
It does. It does. Florida State, they pissed up a rope.
Yep.
That's what it did.
That's right.
What about UM Florida? And what do you see there?
I think it's going to be very exciting. This is a big year for them. I feel that they had quite a few learning lessons next year. I think the culture is getting tighter. And, so goes the leader, so goes the rest. So Jim Harbaugh went through a similar situation where he kind of fell off the train tracks a little bit, started doing all these like khaki commercials, toothbrush commercials. And I'm not saying that he got disengaged, but reeled it right in. And I think Miami's going to reel it in this year. I think there's going to be some really, really awesome games there.
I think you're right. I think Cam Ward is going to make a big difference. He is going to solidify that team like no other. And
absolutely.
And he's the whip cracker. He's the whip cracker. And if he gets hurt, so long Miami. But I think he'll be all right.
Yep.
We can never. We figured out this week we can never forgive Mario Cristobal. He could win 2 national championships back to back for the dumbest coaching move strategically ever in the history of all sports. When he failed to take a knee against Georgia Tech last year. That won't erase it. Dumbest move ever by a head coach.
Agreed.
All right. So the other night I'm out at a restaurant, and this is actually tempered by modern day prices. I have like a $60 bone-in ribeye, where I'm then informed that they don't have the bone-in ribeye anymore, even though it's on the menu, and that they were giving you a couple of extra ounces of meat. Now the steak was very good, and I was thinking, wait a minute, I could have gotten a bone-in ribeye. It would have been even better, and I could have gotten it at half the price at Texas Roadhouse. How do you guys do it? Because they also tacked on another 12 for a baked potato, and and another side, but it was asparagus, I think, were 15, and you throw those in as part of the package. How the hell do you do it at Garcia? Why aren't you running the economy?
Hey, I would love to do that because I am very nervous for November, and I just want us to continue to see us grow. But right now, they only have me in charge of Texas Roadhouse, and I will take it because I love my job. I'll tell you what, though, I've mentioned this before. We are now the #1 largest purchaser of sirloin beef in the world, which to me, that blows my mind, especially that when I started with Texas Roadhouse, we were under 300 locations. And it also is weird for me to say that we have over 700 now because each one, it's weird when I see the word chain next to our name because that's not how I run the market. That's not how my people run the store. They run it. I mean, we have the Ryan Lindsays, the Jackie Roberts, they run their restaurant like it's their own, which I think is really cool. But our secret, Defo, is we have a meat cutter. When you come in and get that bone-in ribeye, more than likely it was cut that morning or the day before, and it's fresh. And after 3 days, they don't even get to day 3, but after 3 days, it's someone's dinner and someone at the restaurant's dinner. That's the best part, having fresh cut steaks. If you could see the amount of pre-purchased steaks or pre-cut steaks that are happening throughout a lot of the restaurants, because it's a talent. To cut the bone in is, I'll tell you, I could give you some pretty good sirloin lessons. Filet, I think, is pretty easy. It's very expensive if you make a mistake, but the bone in, that's a tough one to do. You actually got to use a meat cleaver at the end, which is for some people pretty exciting, but nerve-wracking at the same time, especially if your thumb gets in the way.
Yeah.
more likely to make a mistake there, Tony or Lubie?
I would not give one to Lubie, that's for sure.
Right. No meat cleaver for Lubie.
I was going to say meat.
He'd be like this every show. He's like,
Lubie's more management inclined anyway.
Yeah.
But all your guys are hands-on everything. That's the cool part too.
I think that's a big difference too, is that we make it from scratch.
Yeah.
And we do it in-house. We're not paying for someone to ship it to us and pre-make it for us. And then we got to do a whole bunch of weird stuff with these, what I call microwaves, time machines to make it taste great. No, you get a home cooked meal.
Do you own your own cattle?
We have different parts of a little bit, but that would be a lot of cattle. And we've looked into like trying to get cattle farms, but you would be surprised, Tony, how many cattle farms we work with across the United States and, really, the world. Just to make sure that we can get enough beef inside.
Whatever you're doing, it's working. Yeah.
We have a farm down here about a mile away from us that, sells its own beef, sells its own everything. And it's incredible. It's good, but it's so expensive. It is so expensive.
Right.
But for a treat or whatever, you go get a ribeye, and it's great. It is great.
I'll tell you one last piece that is really cool is because we have the owner operator mentality. When the beef comes in through that back door, we have a ton of specifications of what it's supposed to look like, how the freshness and everything. And the owner operator inspects each single loin, and if it's not done correctly, they get credit for it. They take a picture, we call the cattle farmer, and the cattle farmer, sends us a check. And so it keeps them, and I've worked for a few other restaurants. No one else does anything like that. Empowers our people that way, and that makes such a huge difference in making sure you get the best of the best.
Yes,
doing a great job. All right, we got to run. And always a pleasure. Good luck with their Wolverines. What are they favored by? Are they favored by 50 or something in this opening ball game?
Let's go blue.
Thought I saw a big number there. All right, Tony, always a pleasure. Ed Garcia, ladies and gentlemen. Tony, always a pleasure, my friend. It's great being with you, and I'm glad you're enjoying the cozy confines there of a very cool Vermont by comparison.
It's going to be 49 tonight.
49 degrees. Wow. We never see that. I mean, period. So that's nice. Is the family up there? Or you're up there by yourself? What's going on?
Family's up here.
Oh, good. Okay.
Up here.
All right,
Miami over Florida. Miami over Florida.
I hope so. I mean, I think that will be the beginning of the rumblings of the let's get rid of Mario if he loses to the Gators, though. A lot of pressure on both guys in this game, no doubt.
You know what they're saying, don't you? You know who's going to who if Mario loses, they say Nick Saban will replace him.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Not much chance of that, I would say.
James fans.
Saw Nick on TV. He actually is pretty good on TV.
And he had the
an interesting arrangement they have. They got like McAfee and then Nick Saban commentating on games. All right. Thanks, Tony. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much. Looking good. Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're going to get out of here. Hope you guys have a great day. The Mike Mayo lunchbox is at Sicilian Oven,
Coral Springs.
In Coral Springs. Where is that exactly, Lubie?
It's Sample Road, west of University.
Oh, wow. It's out there. Okay. I'm going to have to get a jump on that. Yeah.
Very west, yes.
West of University. Straight out on Sample Road?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. So we'll see you then on Let's Eat South Florida and South Florida Live. And again, tomorrow, Gurgles, any word? Well, he tried to get in last week. He had a computer problem.
Everything's good. And we're all set for trivia tomorrow morning.
Okay, good. So that'll be a lot of fun. All right, we'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:04.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.